Sometimes I just sit back and I just want to thank Father God for his many blessings because we didn't have to be here, but he saw fit to let our golden moments roll on just a little while longer. And see, today is June the 7th, 2025. And a classmate of mine, I've been wanting to reach him for a long time. And I wanted to tell him thank you for the knowledge that he gave me years ago. And when I say years ago, I will say that I was in probably the 11th or the 12th grade. But nonetheless, he gave me some knowledge to let me know that a choice that I made could have caused one of my best friends to die. If not die, be seriously injured. And he had asked me, how would you have explained that to his mom and dad? And see, at the time where we was being mischievous and fighting and acting up, that never crossed my mind. But when he brought it to my mindset and made me think about it, that's why I went to church that next Sunday and I cried to my pastor and explained that I felt so bad and terrible because I could have caused one of my best friends to die. And I remember my pastor has since passed away, but he told me, he hugged me and everything, and he said, just do better. Don't do that again. He said, we all do something that we regret later. He said, but thank God that you don't have to regret what you were glad didn't happen. And that's true. And so he just told me to keep my head up and just don't repeat the same thing again. And that's why I called my friend and told him I appreciate that. And as I told him that, at first he couldn't remember because that's been a long time ago. That was, I mean, we both was in high school then. We both in our 40s now. But as I explained it to him, he said, yes, I do remember that. And so I could tell by his voice, he was smiling and everything. But he said, man, he said, but actually, you came to my house and he explained to some things that I gave him some knowledge on with a situation he was involved with. And he said that changed his life. And see, that goes to show you right there that we just never know whose life that we might change. Just as simple as something, as simple as talking or sharing knowledge. And like I say, he changed my life. He says I changed his. And so I feel good about that. And once again, I want to thank Father God for that. And me and my classmate, we talked for a while. We even talked on the subject of the novel C supplement. And I explained to him how long ago it has been, close to 40 years ago. He said, that is a long time. I said, yes, it is. And then I also explained on how I made it. Well, actually, I didn't tell him how I made as far as the ingredients, but I did tell him how I went about as far as observing on how it was made. And I asked him, I said, I sent him a picture so that he could have an idea on what they look like. And so he was like, wow. He said, what is that? And I thought it was funny. I asked him, I said, what do you think they look like? The ones I showed him were the ones that were very colorful. He said, man, they look like seashells. And I started laughing because a lady that I interviewed on another video, she said the same thing. They look like seashells. But see, my neighbor on top of the hill, he said it looked like peanut butter, but they do look totally different. And I always tell people that these novel seeds, they all look different. But for some reason, they all smell and taste the same. I mean, to this day, I still do not realize or understand why. But anyone that has ever tried one, they would tell you that they all taste and smell the same. And as I was talking to my classmate, he told me, he said, man, I appreciate talking to you. He said, man, you are the realest person that I can think of. I think he said the realest person that he knows. And he said, I always kept it real. And I have am the realest in his eyes. And so it's always good to hear some positive input because so many times people say something negative, which I figured he wasn't gonna say anything negative, but for him to say the realest, to me that is a compliment because that's what I try to be. I don't want to be fake to nobody. And when I tell you something, I want to tell you the truth. I want to tell you something that is real. But it was a blessing to talk to him. I'm glad that he's doing well. And he also said, if anything ever happened, because see, he actually saw some of the novel seeds supplement. He witnessed, okay, he and I was on a wrestling team together. And the year that I was ineligible to wrestle, he knew something was wrong, but he had no idea what it was. He did not know until tonight. I told him that's when the Social Security changed my name. They took the A out of my name. And so he was like, so that's what that was all about. I said, yeah. And I said, so even with that being done, I said, you can't spell novel C if that A was still there. I said, so everything happens for a reason. And so since we was on a subject of God and everything, I was pointing to all the different things. He said, man, that's serious. That is something serious. He said, no, you can't. Because I mean, I told him, I said, now who do you know that can name themselves or ask what their name's gonna be at birth? And he said, not no one. And he started laughing, which is true. That's another thing about the novel seed supplement. I had no idea what my name was gonna be. And so that's definitely not something that I plan. And so that's all part of God's divine wisdom and his divine plan. And we talked and everything. Like I say, he witnessed me in the hospital. Now just think, he and I was on a wrestling team. And for him to see me being wheeled in the hospital in a wheelchair, I remember the look on his face because all I saw was shock. He's probably saying to himself, why in the world is he in a wheelchair? Because I'm his former wrestling partner, and he knew that I ran track in high school. He knew that I played baseball at Tanner. And so he knew that I was an athlete. That's what he knew me as, an athlete. And then to see me being wheeled in, like I said, I saw the shock in his face. And so he also told me that he also saw me recover from my diagnosis and everything, my multiple sclerosis diagnosis. He saw me recover. And he said that ever since then, it changed his life. He said, because I changed his life as far as helping him with his problem. He said, but also it changed his life when he watched me recover from my multiple sclerosis diagnosis. And so that was a blessing in itself because when we go through trials and tribulations, when someone else sees you succeed, you never know who you might inspire because someone is watching you. So always love you one another and treat everyone polite, treat them right. And always talk with sense to them. Share knowledge with them. He shared knowledge with me. I shared knowledge with him at times where we did not even know that later on in life we would bring up the same subject. And like I say, he changed my life. He says I changed his. And so always remember in life, someone is watching you. And we never know whose life we're going to change or who we're going to inspire. And so, like I say, I was glad to talk to him. We talked for a pretty good while. And like I said, have been waiting for a long time to talk to him. I explained to him that I talked to the mother and the guy that I could have cost his life. The mother, I could tell she was smiling by her voice on the phone, and she told me that it was okay, it was okay. And the son, he told me, it's okay, Cleveland, it's okay. I said, yeah. Now, these are two different phone calls, but both of them told me it was okay. I said, but yeah, to y'all, it's okay. I said, but I'm still looking at the fact that something could have easily went wrong. And if it did, I would have never been able to live with that. I would have took it to my grave. It would have bothered me. Some stuff in life, you would have a very hard time recovering, and that would have been one of them. But like I said, at least I got the blessings from his mother. I got the blessings from him, and the guy that told me years ago, now Cleveland, you know better than that. At least I told him that I surely appreciate that. And so that's what I just wanted to share with y'all. Like I say, I thank God for his many blessings because things could have easily went wrong. So hey, on Miracle Intentions, please like, share, and subscribe. No human alive could possibly plan this divine story and miracle that I believe I am destined to share. May God bless you, and may he forever keep you. Love ye one another.